Japan is often hailed as one of the safest countries in the world. With its low crime rate, strong community ties, and highly efficient police force, it's easy to assume that violent or disturbing crimes are extremely rare. But every now and then, a case surfaces that rattles the nation to its core, challenging public trust in law enforcement, unsettling the peace of entire communities, and leaving scars that never truly fade. One such case took place in the quiet city of Matsudo in Chiba Prefecture back in 1989. A case so haunting, so baffling, and so tragically unresolved, it remains one of the most mysterious child abductions in Japan's modern history. This is the story of the Matsudo Baby Kidnapping, a real crime that left a nation stunned and a family devastated forever. It all began on the morning of July 10th, 1989. A young mother named Yasuko Yamamoto had just finished feeding her 1-year-old baby daughter, Tomomi. It was a sweltering summer day in Matsudo, and like many other Japanese neighborhoods, their apartment complex was calm and filled with the sounds of children playing outside. Yasuko decided to run a quick errand to a nearby dry cleaner, located just a few minutes away from her home. She had made this trip dozens of times before, and like many parents in Japan at the time, she assumed it was safe to leave her baby napping in her crib. The door was locked. The apartment was secure. She would be gone for only 10 minutes. What could possibly happen? But when Yasuko returned, her entire world collapsed. The front door was still locked, just as she had left it. There were no signs of forced entry. Nothing had been stolen. Everything in the apartment was exactly where it had been. Everything except Tomomi. Her baby girl had vanished without a trace. Now, stop and think about that for a second. How does a baby disappear from a locked apartment in the middle of the day? No broken windows, no witnesses, no sounds of struggle, and no known suspects. The very nature of the kidnapping was like something out of a thriller novel, except this was real, and this was happening to a grieving mother in real time. Panic spread quickly. Neighbors joined the search. Police were called immediately. The apartment was dusted for fingerprints, canine units were deployed. Flyers with Tomomi's photo flooded the neighborhood. The media picked up the story fast, and within 24 hours the entire region of Chiba was on high alert. But as the days passed, and then the weeks, with no ransom demand, no sighting, and no clue, something even more terrifying settled in. The growing possibility that whoever had taken Tomomi did not do it for money, but for something far worse. Japanese police launched a massive investigation. Over 100 officers were assigned to the case. Every tenant in the apartment building was questioned. Delivery personnel were tracked down. Friends, family, and even distant acquaintances were interviewed. But time was not on their side. The longer a missing child case goes unsolved, the lower the chances of recovery. In the first 48 hours, there is still hope. After a week, hope fades. After a month, investigators start to look for other answers, many of which are far more grim. In Tomomi's case, not a single lead surfaced. No eyewitnesses, no surveillance footage, because in 1989, security cameras were not yet a common feature in residential areas. There were no anonymous tips, no fingerprints. It was as if the baby had been plucked from existence. Some theories did emerge. One of the most chilling possibilities was that someone had been watching Yasuko, studying her routine, waiting for the exact moment she would leave her child alone. The idea that a stranger, or even someone she knew, had entered the home and taken Tomomi within a tiny 10-minute window was deeply unsettling. Another theory suggested the culprit could have been someone living in the same building, someone with a key, someone who could slip in and out without drawing attention. The more the investigation turned inward, the more uncomfortable it became for the entire community. Suspicion began to poison relationships. Neighbors who once trusted each other now looked over their shoulders. People changed their locks. Mothers refused to leave their children alone for even a second. Matsudo, once an ordinary and peaceful place, was now paralyzed by fear. But then a letter arrived. Roughly 2 months after the disappearance, Yasuko received an anonymous note in the mail. It was brief, handwritten, and horrifying. The writer claimed to have Tomomi. No return address, no fingerprints, just a taunting message that reignited the flames of pain. Police analyzed the letter but found no DNA, no traceable ink, and no linguistic clues that could narrow down the suspect pool. Was it real? Was it a cruel hoax? Or was it the kidnapper's way of asserting dominance? The note provided no useful information about the baby's condition or whereabouts, and worse, no demand was made. It was not about money. It was about power, control, and psychological torture. At this point, the case was spiraling into something beyond logic. Investigators began to look into every possible motive. Could it have been an act of revenge? A grudge against Yasuko? Could someone have taken the baby to replace a lost child of their own? Several women in the region were quietly investigated for signs of sudden pregnancy or suspicious behavior. Hospitals were alerted. Birth records were combed through. Nothing came up. It was as if Tomomi had been swallowed by the earth. As months turned into years, the case grew colder. Eventually, the police reduced their manpower on the case, and the active investigation became a file in a cabinet labeled Unsolved. But Yasuko never gave up. She appeared on television. She passed out flyers year after year. She created support groups for missing children. And most importantly, she kept Tomomi's memory alive. Here is where things get even stranger. In 2006, 17 years after the kidnapping, a tip was phoned in. A woman in her late teens had recently learned that the family she believed to be her own might not be biologically related to her. The caller did not identify the girl directly, but she hinted at something dark and buried. Police followed up on the tip. DNA tests were ordered. Unfortunately, the girl in question was not Tomomi, but it reignited media attention and public interest in the case. For a brief moment, hope returned to Yasuko and her family, but just as quickly as it came, it vanished again. Despite being over 3 decades old, the Matsudo Baby Kidnapping Case still receives occasional attention in Japan. Internet forums continue to debate the case. Amateur sleuths attempt to piece together clues that the police may have missed. Documentaries have been made. Journalists continue to revisit the story in hopes that one day, someone will speak up, that one secret will finally be revealed. And why does this case continue to haunt so many people? Because unlike many child abduction cases, there is no known motive. There is no suspect. There is no resolution, no closure. Just silence. It represents a kind of fear that is primal and universal. The idea that no matter how safe we feel, no matter how careful we are, something unthinkable can still happen in the blink of an eye. As of today, Tomomi would be in her late 30s. Yasuko still believes her daughter is out there somewhere, maybe living under a different name, maybe unaware of her true identity, maybe reading this script, feeling a strange tug in her chest, not quite knowing why, and maybe, just maybe, the truth is still waiting to be uncovered. So if you are still listening, here is something to think about. What if someone saw something that day and never spoke up? What if the smallest detail, a strange sound, a car parked in the wrong spot, a person lingering too long near the building, was the missing piece all along? If you were that person, would you come forward now? Because here is the thing about cold cases, they are never truly cold. They live in the memories of those affected. They simmer in silence. They wait for justice, for truth, and for one person to finally say something. The Matsudo Baby Kidnapping Case is not just a story of loss. It is a symbol of unanswered questions, of human resilience, and of a mother's unwavering hope that her daughter is still alive somewhere in this vast, uncertain world. If you found this story as heartbreaking and haunting as we did, share it. Keep Tomomi's name alive, because awareness, no matter how late, is still a powerful weapon. Thank you for staying with us till the end. And if you want more real Japanese crime cases like this one, hit that follow button because the next one might be even darker.